Vice President Joe Biden stepped in earlier when a clip from the Breakfast Club showed him saying something pretty offensive. Here's that clip.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community.
Wow. If you have a problem figuring out if you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Says a white guy. Now, look, I know the irony that I'm commenting on the story as a fellow white guy, but I kind of feel like it's my job partly to rein in my fellow white people when they say something ridiculously stupid / possibly offensive. And look, I'm not the one who's offended. And I'm not to say that black people should feel offended. No, not at all. But I just think that this is really, really dumb to tell black people that they're not black if they're trying to figure out whether they or not they could support you or vote for you. And the reason I say that is because, look, a lot of African-American voters sat out in 2016. Why? It's because Hillary Clinton wasn't really offering anything for the black community. Turns out having hot sauce in your purse wasn't exactly, I don't know, a good reason to show up and vote for Joe Biden. I mean, not really offering them, I'm sorry, Hillary Clinton. She wasn't really offering them anything on policy, and neither is Joe Biden. Now, that said, Biden might have a better shot than Hillary Clinton because not only has Donald Trump been a complete and utter disaster the last nearly 4 years, which is true, but also Biden was part of the Obama coalition. He was on Obama's ticket. So now, look, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that he was on that ticket to appeal to black voters. No, I'm not saying that at all. He was actually there for the opposite, to make white voters comfortable with a man named Barack Hussein Obama, right? So let's be fair about that. That's why he's there. But there are people that have a romanticized version or believe in a romanticized version of Joe Biden because he was part of that Obama administration. And look, a lot of those people, are people that watch cable news, CNN, MSNBC, and let's be honest about that, right? So now, again, I can't speak for the average black voter, and I'm not going to try to, right, for obvious reasons. But politically, I think this is a dumb move. You got to give people a reason to vote for you, man. And once again, old people are being given by Trump or by this guy is, well, I'm not Trump. I'm not Trump. Okay, I'll be fair. I'll concede that maybe that's more effective now because of how disastrous Donald Trump has been. And we've seen that reflected in some of the most recent polls, which show Biden with a gigantic, lead over Donald Trump. And it's because, of course, partly Donald Trump's coronavirus response was awful, god awful. For 96,000 Americans have died. Over 1.5 million people have been infected by this virus. We've only tested about 12 million people, right? And so the economy is in shambles because of this. And so, yeah, a lot of people will look to that and blame Donald Trump for it. And he will suffer at the polls. But maybe not. 6 months is a long time. Who knows what's going to happen? There might be a vaccine. The economy could possibly pick up. I'm not saying it's likely, but, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. And judging what's happened in the last 4 years, I would say anything's possible. Just anything, right? So the thing is, though, politically, I wouldn't count on that for it to happen. Maybe if you were to throw in some policy positions and really start aggressively talking about what you're going to do for, not only the average voter, but the black community as well. And, explain why you should vote for me, why I'm a better choice, and not just say, well, Trump's bad. Trump bad. Orange man bad. Yes, but, somebody ran on that, and it wasn't as compelling. And again, maybe that's different. Maybe my political instincts are off. Maybe I'm way overblowing his chances here in 2020 because they were undercounted in 2016. I realized that I could have that bias, right? And that I could be seeing things from a, too much of a biased perspective on that. But I'm just saying, why shouldn't you campaign like you're trying to win? I mean, look, I'd love to have an election where I voted for someone rather than against the other guy. And we really haven't had that. I mean, look, I felt that way in 2008 when I voted for Barack Obama. And then I was obviously very disappointed, which I think a lot of you are as well. And so I'd like to vote for people who support policy that helps me in my community, just like Charlemagne was saying, right? And unfortunately, we don't seem to be having that with Joe Biden. I mean, we should, but we don't. It shouldn't take Bernie Sanders winning for us to have a conversation about good healthcare policy like Medicare for all. Joe Biden refuses to vote for Medicare for all. He says, I'm not interested, even in the midst of a pandemic. And so what I think he's doing is he's doing the hubris move, right? Hillary Clinton 2.0 in that regard, in that sense, thinking, no, there's no way I can lose to this guy. I got it in the bag. Well, even if that's true, and early polls 6 months out are saying that, are suggesting that, I still think Biden should be campaigning as if he's 10 points behind. Shouldn't you be doing that? Shouldn't you be putting all your effort into outreach and making your coalition bigger and really kind of setting up that ground operation that you need to have in these very key states? The states that Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, places that are going to be swing states. Shouldn't you do that? I mean, look, I understand that Joe Biden, quote unquote, won the primary, even though the primary is still going on, technically. But all of his opposition dropped out. So, I mean, what are you going to do? So, knowing that, like, Joe Biden had no campaign infrastructure. He had won states that he had never even visited. But you can't count on that happening during a general election. You actually have to have an infrastructure in place. And you'll have to have a ground game. So you've got to act like you're behind and really invest and to work on your campaign. And look, by coalition building, I don't just mean like, oh, you should go after the never Trump Republicans. No, we don't want the never Trump Republicans. We should want to actually appeal to the base, progressives, people who believe in Medicare for all. You know that even in states, in a lot of states where Biden was the overwhelming winner, people still said that Medicare for all was their preferred healthcare plan. So meaning that on policy, people were with Bernie, but when it came to thinking that, electability, right? Thinking that, who's best to take on Donald Trump, they were with Biden. And so that's the issue, or actually in many other states with other people, because often Biden actually, until South Carolina, was actually doing really poorly in a lot of these states. And you had people like Pete Buttigieg that were doing much, much better. And so now Biden just, of course, got everything by default. And so, yeah, he's definitely the last guy that we expected to be even close to being the nominee. And so maybe he should act like the nominee and start really aggressively trying to win. And that's the problem. He's acting like he's not trying to win. And that's the issue. So, no, and maybe he believes that he's, and this explains why he's not going after really, or, going after the progressive vote, or really doing, too much on black outreach, right? Well, I already won South Carolina. Well, that means I got the black vote. Oh, are you saying that the black vote is a monolith? Because I'm pretty sure that they're not. In fact, younger African Americans, people under 45 generally broke for the more progressive candidates, including someone like Bernie Sanders. And so you might want to not just look at the black vote as a monolith and really kind of listen to the community to see what they need. what kind of policies would help them? And look, I could guarantee that he's not really talking about those policies. Is Joe Biden talking about reparations? I don't think he is, right? Is Joe Biden talking about, black maternity deaths, right? The larger amount of African-American women that die from childbirth in hospitals. Are we talking about that? No, he's not talking about that. Not that I know of. So is he really even talking about black-centric policy, or is he just saying, vote for me or you're not black? I mean, that doesn't make any sense as a policy, right? And so what sucks is that, again, it's the Hillary Clinton problem, believing that you're owed votes because you're the Democratic, quote unquote, presumptive nominee, right? Those are mine by default. That's a problem. If you're not careful, you run the risk of terrible things happening. And I don't mean just Donald Trump, by the way. He might be done for regardless of what's happening because of coronavirus, right? But okay, assuming that you do beat Donald Trump, which is now becoming seemingly more likely at least 6 months out at this point. But what about the down ticket? What about down ticket Democrats? Yeah, the Republican Party will suffer from Donald Trump as well at the polls, but you also need the enthusiasm of people turning out to the polls and also voting down ticket. And an unexciting ticket at the top, I'm looking at you, Biden Klobuchar, right? That's not really going to excite people to go and vote for you and don't go down ticket, even if the turnout for Trump could be lower for, as a result of coronavirus. And so, look, it would be a disaster if Republicans took back the House and kept the Senate. If that happens, well, you got 4 years of gridlock. And in a recession or depression, which is definitely coming, that's a nightmare scenario. That means we can't do really anything to help the American people. So Biden, there's a problem here. You got to step this up. There's no way around it. If he wants people's votes, and again, I'm not saying the never Trump Republicans, right? Because that's not who we should be courting. If he wants those votes, go out and earn them. Actually put in some effort and try. That's all we're asking. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.